Alright, hello everyone and welcome to this video. We are actually going to be looking through Blender's interface, so you have a rough idea of where everything is and how you can move things, how you can adapt things to your liking, all those things. So we are going to start. Let's not worry about moving things here in the viewport, because this is the first part that we see on Blender that is really big, right? This part of the screen right here that is huge. Well, that is actually called the viewport and is one of the most important parts of Blender. You're going to be doing a lot of things here. Maybe around 95% of your work is going to be done here. I don't say 100% because perhaps you're going to be editing and doing some other things that don't require the viewport, but yeah, most of your work is going to be held on here. And we can actually move in here, create geometry and all that stuff. We're not gonna be worrying about that in this video. I just wanted to show you here that this part right here, this big one, is called the viewport. All right. You can actually resize any window here in Blender. You can see it has like lines that separate these little windows. Like this is a window. We're going to see what it does in a minute. This is another window. This is actually, this part right here is another window, and you can resize them. If you grab the black line that goes across them, that divides them, you can see that my cursor switches to an arrow. You can see that right there, right? You can see it, it's an arrow. That means that I can resize them. If I click my left mouse button, I can resize them. I click and hold. So you can actually resize any of these windows to your liking. Actually, when I'm resizing here my viewport window, I'm actually also resizing these too, since they are connected by this line right here. Do you see it? All right. Also, throughout the course, you can see that anything that I press, whether it is in my mouse or in my keyboard, is going to appear right here. I pressed F. Really cool for you, so you can actually see what's going on. Right, so this is a window that is called the viewport, right? But you can see there are actually more. There is another one here, and there is another one here. So let's look at it first, this one on the top. Okay, so this one is called the outliner. It will tell you everything that you have on your screen. In this case, in the viewport actually. In this case, you can see we have a camera, a cube, and a light. And you can see it right here. Let me just move this to the right a little bit so it's a little bigger. You can see it right here. So you have a camera. Look at it. This is the camera on Blender right here. You have it there. You have a cube. You can see it right there. And you have a light. This is the light right here. You can see it. And you can see it's inside something that it's called a collection that is really, really important here in Blender. So important that we're not going to learn about it now. We're going to learn about it later in the future in a video that's just used for collections, because this is really important. But basically, you store items inside collections, all right? So by default, Blender creates just one collection and puts 3 items in there. You can see, all right? So this is called the outliner. You can see it right here on the top right. There are some eyes here, and it means that you can actually enable or disable the visualization of each of these items or the collection as a whole. We're not going to dive very deep into this. Remember, we're going to make a separate video on this. But it's very simple. You can just left click on the camera, for example. Now you see now that the camera is no longer there. But it is there. You just cannot see it. You can see that if I enable this property again, I can see it. So make no mistake, the camera is still on memory, but I can no longer see it because I disabled the visualization. I basically hid it. So just keep that in mind. That can happen a lot. I can do that also with the cube and with my light, and basically with any object I have here in my 3D scene in the viewport. All right, so this is called the outliner. Now you know what it does. Really important. And here, by collection, you can hide, and you can also make it big, so you can see all the items in the collection. You can collapse them, so you can just see the collection, or you can uncollapse it, and you can see the whole collection as a list. So that is what we have on the top right of our screen. We have the outliner. The outliner is really important, and now you know why. Now I want you to focus your attention right here on this part of the screen. This is also another part that is super important when you want to learn Blender, because this is our properties panel right here, the properties panel. Basically, you have a bunch of tabs and you can switch between them. right? With your left click, you just put your cursor on top of it and you click, and you can switch between them. And these properties will help you do whatever it is that you're looking to do inside of Blender. So basically the workflow is that you're doing something here, your viewport, and then when you want to change a property or something, whether it is, I don't know, maybe the property of a light or a mesh, you know, geometry, or maybe a material, then you come here to your properties panel and do that change, you know, and set the property. So that's where most of that is going to be happening. It's going to be happening right here. In the next video, we're going to be coming to all these tabs, and we're going to do a brief overview of what you will find inside all of these, so that you have a rough idea of what you're going to be working with each time you click on one of these. And of course, throughout the course, we're going to be coming through all of these in more detail, so that you have a rough, not a rough, but a really good idea of what it is that you're going to be doing in each and every one of these. So this is the properties panel, really important. Let's just leave it here in this little camera that we have for now. All right, now I want you to focus on this part of the screen right here, this little part. We can actually make it bigger. Whoop, as you can see right here. Well, this is actually your timeline. This is where we're going to be handling animations, where we're going to be scrubbing through the timeline to see how our animation is doing. And you can press play right here. You know, it'll play our animation, nothing's happening on the screen, we haven't animated anything. When we are actually learning about animation, you're going to understand how this works, but this is our timeline right here. Very important. It starts at 1, as you can see, and ends at 250. You can see right there. So you could be asking, hey, Sebastian, what exactly is that? Like, it starts at one second, it ends at 250 seconds. How does it work? Well, this is actually working in frames. We're going to be learning what a frame is in later videos, but for now, just know that you can actually change the length of the animation here, and it is actually changing as I'm moving my cursor. I am left clicking and dragging right from left, and you can see that it's actually changing. Or I can change the value, double click, and then just put in, I don't know, maybe 90, enter, and you'll see it works. So that's how you actually control the length of your animation, but let's not get into a lot of detail here. We're just starting out. But just so you know, this is our timeline right here for animation. Now you can see up here we have our functions that we're going to be using a lot to do several things in Blender. So if you actually click on File, you can create a new Blender file right here. You can open an existing Blender file. You can recover a file that you have been working on. It's great. You can save your files. You can link and append, really important. We're going to be using those a lot too. So I'm going to be teaching you what this means actually, really cool. You can import things, you can export things, you can clean up your interface, very, very cool stuff. You can create some defaults. We're going to be looking into this later as well. So that's what we have in File. Edit, you can undo and redo if you mess up something, but that's Control Z. I assume you already know that. Pretty much every single computer software does this. Undo history, repeat history, you know, and all that basic stuff that you can do when you want to edit something. But here we have the preference file. Very important. We're going to be coming into a lot of detail also in coming videos, but keep that in mind here in preferences. That's really important. Rendering, when you actually want to render an image or an animation, you do it through here. Window, we're not going to be using this for much actually, so don't worry about this one. And help, if you want any help, tutorial support, the reference for programming, you can find it here. So what we're missing is actually messing around with these tabs, but we're going to leave this video at here for now, because these tabs will connect very, very interestingly to what we're going to be learning immediately after this video. So we're going to leave it at this. Thank you very much for sticking around, and I'll see you in the next one.